Richard Donovan stood at the sidelines of Meadowbrook High's championship game, players hanging on his every word. Parents cheered from packed bleachers as Coach Rich molded their sons into winners. The next morning, he sat calmly in a blood-spattered apartment while police photographed the brutalized body of his fiancée. Two versions of one man, the respected football coach with record-breaking wins and the calculated killer who strangled a mother of two with his wedding suit belt. How often do we truly know the people we trust with our children? The coach who drives your son home from practice. The teacher who stays late offering extra help. The community leader praised at town meetings. We hand our most precious relationships to people wearing masks, so convincing even their closest companions miss what hides beneath. These charismatic manipulators thrive in positions of authority. They collect admiration like trophies, building fortresses of public goodwill that make accusations seem impossible. Not Coach Rich, the community insisted. He mentored troubled teens. He volunteered weekends. He attended church. Yet as Tessa Myers took her final breath in that upscale New Jersey apartment, neighbors listened to her screams fade, while the man who claimed to love her watched with cold detachment. Today, we'll dissect this case to reveal the warning signs that everyone missed. Subtle behaviors that might have saved Tessa's life had they been recognized in time. Subscribe to True Crime Hunter now to ensure you never miss these potentially life-saving insights. Your vigilance could protect someone you love. Richard Donovan arrived in Meadowbrook with a resume built for small-town admiration. Former Division II quarterback, education degree with honors, and a winning coaching record from Pennsylvania. Within 2 seasons, he transformed the struggling Meadowbrook High Falcons from perennial losers to regional champions. His calculated climb to community stardom followed a precise strategy. Monday mornings found him collecting trash at local parks, always when school board members jogged their usual routes. Thursdays meant reading to elementary students, coincidentally when local news filmed their weekly education segments. Each appearance crafted, each interaction strategically timed. Coach Rich rejuvenated this town's spirit, Mayor Wilson proclaimed at the championship rally. He represents everything Meadowbrook values: dedication, discipline, and community service. Parents entrusted their sons to his guidance without hesitation. He calls our boys to higher standards, Michael Thompson told the Meadowbrook Gazette. My son now makes his bed, maintains straight A's, and respects his elders. Coach Rich deserves credit for that transformation. School principal Gloria Martinez championed his methods in district meetings. His players maintain the highest GPA of any athletic program in county history. Coach doesn't just build athletes. He builds citizens. His social media accounts showcased carefully selected moments. Mentoring sessions with troubled teens, hospital visits to former players, award ceremonies where he deflected praise to his team. Each post meticulously edited, each caption workshopped for maximum impact. Local businesses displayed his team photos. The diner named a sandwich after him. The town council awarded him its Citizen of Excellence Medal 3 years running. The community saw exactly what Richard Donovan presented: a dedicated mentor molding young men into tomorrow's leaders. They never questioned what might exist beneath the spotless surface. Tessa Myers moved through the pediatric ward of Regional Medical Center with quiet efficiency, her gentle touch calming terrified children facing intimidating medical procedures. At 34, she'd earned the respect of surgeons and the trust of anxious parents through her exceptional care and meticulous attention. She remembered every child's favorite cartoon character, Dr. Amelia Rodriguez recalled. She'd draw Bluey on bandages or quote Encanto during scary procedures. Parents requested her by name because their children felt safe with Nurse Tessa. This professional dedication mirrored her approach to motherhood. After escaping her turbulent first marriage, one marked by emotional manipulation and control, Tessa rebuilt her life around daughters Lily and Zoe with determined focus. She maintained their routine through the divorce proceedings, arranged trauma-informed therapy, and created new family traditions to restore their sense of security. She transformed their pain into growth, observed her mother during interviews. Weekend science experiments in the kitchen, nature photography hikes, monthly volunteer days at the animal shelter. She showed those girls how to convert hardship into purpose. While advancing her career through night classes for her nurse practitioner certification, Tessa maintained perfect attendance at school events. Her kitchen calendar mapped each recital, soccer match, and parent-teacher conference with color-coded precision. Her approach to dating reflected this same protective instinct. For 2 years after her divorce, she declined all romantic possibilities, focusing entirely on healing herself and her daughters. When she finally considered relationships again, she established firm boundaries. 3 months minimum before meeting my girls, she told friends. I need to be certain about someone's character first. A rule that Richard Donovan would study, accommodate, and ultimately exploit with fatal consequences. The fall fundraiser at Meadowbrook Elementary marked the beginning of their story. Tessa Myers coordinated the silent auction while Richard Donovan represented the athletic department. Their first interaction, seemingly casual, was anything but random. He specifically asked about the nurse running the auction, a colleague later revealed. He researched her before approaching. Richard's opening conversation focused on Tessa's daughters, complimenting their artwork displayed in the school hallway. He mentioned coaching opportunities for young girls, a perfectly crafted hook for a protective mother. Their first date occurred exactly 7 days later, coffee at a local cafe. Richard arrived with a children's book about nursing for each of Tessa's daughters, demonstrating thoughtfulness without overstepping. He listened more than he spoke, cataloging her preferences, values, and routines. Phone records revealed Richard's pattern: consistent communication without overwhelming pressure. Text messages each morning before her hospital shift. Brief calls every other evening. Attentive but never possessive, a deliberate strategy. He studied her previous marriage like game footage, Danielle Wilson later testified. He became everything her ex wasn't: punctual, attentive, financially stable. At exactly the 6-month mark, the minimum waiting period Tessa required, Richard formally asked to meet her daughters. He arrived with personalized gifts that reflected their specific interests: constellation maps for astronomy-loving Lily and art supplies for creative Zoe. Within weeks, he volunteered to coach Lily's youth soccer team. By month 8, he attended their recitals. Month 10 saw him helping with homework and school projects. His integration progressed according to a precise timeline, each move calculated for maximum impact. The proposal came at the 14-month milestone, a weekend trip to Cape May involving both daughters in the planning. Richard arranged for them to deliver handwritten cards asking their mother to marry Coach Rich. Local musicians played her favorite song as he presented a ring selected based on preferences she'd mentioned only once. Every moment designed to showcase his apparent perfection while concealing his true motives. Have you ever noticed someone slowly changing their behavior once they felt secure? The gradual shift that occurs when the mask slips just enough to reveal glimpses of their true nature. As wedding planning commenced, Richard's carefully maintained facade began showing hairline fractures. The transformation was so gradual that each individual change seemed minor, easily explained, easily dismissed. Assistant coaches noticed his phone checking becoming compulsive during practices. He'd stop mid-drill to respond to texts, one recalled. If he couldn't reach Tessa immediately, his mood darkened noticeably. His suggestions about Tessa's appearance emerged subtly. Casual comments about outfits he preferred, hairstyles he found more professional. Each delivered with a smile, each phrased as helpful advice rather than demands. Tessa's calendar revealed the progression. March showed her regular coffee dates with friends, book club meetings, and professional development sessions. By May, these personal activities had vanished, replaced by Richard's preferred couples events with his colleagues. She began canceling our standing Thursday lunch, Danielle Wilson noted. First occasionally with apologetic texts, then regularly without explanation. When we did meet, she checked her watch constantly, anxious about getting home before he arrived. Richard inserted himself into parenting decisions with increasing authority. What began as supportive suggestions evolved into critical assessments of Tessa's permissive approach. Text messages to her sister revealed growing concerns. He thinks the girls need stricter discipline, says I'm undermining their character development by being too soft. The most alarming discovery came 7 days before the murder. While using Richard's laptop to print wedding invitations, Tessa accidentally opened a spreadsheet titled Behavioral Corrections. Inside, meticulous documentation of every perceived infraction by her daughters, categorized by severity, date, and disrespect level. Notes in the margins outlined suggested punishments and character rehabilitation methods. When confronted, Richard defended the document as standard coaching methodology applied to family dynamics. His calm rationalization frightened Tessa more than anger would have. That night, she texted Danielle, "Something feels deeply wrong. Who monitors children like this? I'm starting to question everything." Have you ever noticed someone slowly changing their behavior once they felt secure? The gradual shift that occurs when the mask slips just enough to reveal glimpses of their true nature? As wedding planning commenced, Richard's carefully maintained facade began showing hairline fractures. The transformation was so gradual that each individual change seemed minor, easily explained, easily dismissed. Assistant coaches noticed his phone checking becoming compulsive during practices. He'd stop mid-drill to respond to texts, one recalled. If he couldn't reach Tessa immediately, his mood darkened noticeably. His suggestions about Tessa's appearance emerged subtly. Casual comments about outfits he preferred, hairstyles he found more professional. Each delivered with a smile, each phrased as helpful advice rather than demands. Tessa's calendar revealed the progression. March showed her regular coffee dates with friends, book club meetings, and professional development sessions. By May, these personal activities had vanished, replaced by Richard's preferred couples events with his colleagues. She began canceling our standing Thursday lunch, Danielle Wilson noted. First occasionally with apologetic texts, then regularly without explanation. When we did meet, she checked her watch constantly, anxious about getting home before he arrived. Richard inserted himself into parenting decisions with increasing authority. What began as supportive suggestions evolved into critical assessments of Tessa's permissive approach. Text messages to her sister revealed growing concerns. "He thinks the girls need stricter discipline, says I'm undermining their character development by being too soft." The most alarming discovery came 7 days before the murder. While using Richard's laptop to print wedding invitations, Tessa accidentally opened a spreadsheet titled Behavioral Corrections. Inside, meticulous documentation of every perceived infraction by her daughters, categorized by severity, date, and disrespect level. Notes in the margins outlined suggested punishments and character rehabilitation methods. When confronted, Richard defended the document as standard coaching methodology applied to family dynamics. His calm rationalization frightened Tessa more than anger would have. That night, she texted Danielle, "Something feels deeply wrong. Who monitors children like this? I'm starting to question everything." 7 days before the murder, Tessa discovers the behavioral corrections spreadsheet tracking her daughter's every move. Her text to Danielle marks the first mention of postponing the wedding. 6 days before, Richard increases his presence at the apartment, arriving unannounced 3 separate times. Phone location data shows he circles the block before each surprise visit, timing his arrivals for maximum impact. 5 days before, Tessa calls her therapist for an emergency session. The therapist notes, client expressed significant concerns about controlling behaviors toward her children, discussed safety planning and exit strategies. 4 days before, Richard confronts Tessa about a bridesmaid he disapproves of, her college roommate who works in domestic violence prevention. Security footage from the apartment complex parking garage captures this crucial interaction at 7:42 p.m. The video shows Tessa's defensive posture, arms crossed, repeatedly stepping backward as Richard advances. His body language remains controlled, hands in pockets, head tilted slightly, the same stance he uses when disciplining players. Their conversation lasts 27 minutes, ending with Tessa wiping tears while Richard checks his watch. 3 days before, Tessa contacts her bank to inquire about separating accounts. She creates a private email address and sends herself copies of important documents: birth certificates, insurance policies, lease agreements. 2 days before, she schedules an appointment with a family law attorney for what would have been the day after her murder. The consultation notes read, "Potential client seeking advice on breaking engagement, custody protection measures." The night before, Tessa calls her mother at 10:17 p.m. Phone records show a 17-minute conversation during which she asks if she and the girls can stay for a while to sort things out. Her mother prepares the guest bedroom that evening. The morning of March 12th. Richard arrives at Tessa's apartment at 9:58 a.m. Like this video if you believe we need better education about the warning signs of domestic violence. Recognition saves lives. Saturday, March 12th dawned clear and cool in Meadowbrook. Security cameras captured Richard's silver SUV entering the Lakeside Heights parking area at 9:58 a.m. He circled twice before selecting a spot partially obscured from main cameras. His trunk contained a gym bag holding latex gloves and cleaning supplies, items never mentioned during initial police interviews. The building's entry system logged his key fob at 10:03 a.m. Neighbor Monica Patel, preparing brunch in the adjacent apartment, reported hearing normal conversation through the shared wall initially, discussion about wedding catering. At 10:15 a.m., the tone shifted. Monica heard Tessa's voice rise. "I'm not doing this anymore, and the girls deserve better." Richard's responses remained too quiet to distinguish. His coaching voice never raised, always controlled. At 10:21 a.m., a loud crash echoed through the wall, later identified as a glass coffee table shattering. Footsteps rushed across the floor. Multiple neighbors reported what followed. Brianna Foster, directly above. First came heavy thuds, like someone repeatedly hitting a wall. Then screaming, raw, desperate screaming that stopped mid-sound. The medical examiner's report revealed the progression. Blunt force trauma from multiple impacts against kitchen countertops, followed by strangulation with a designer belt Richard had purchased for their wedding. At 10:32 a.m., 4 separate residents called 911. Police arrived 9 minutes later to find Richard seated calmly on the intact portion of the sofa, Tessa's body visible on the kitchen floor behind him. Officer Kevin Reynolds documented Richard's first statement. "She became hysterical about wedding plans. I tried to calm her down." His demeanor struck all responding officers, completely composed, offering detailed answers while gesturing toward his fiancée's body with the detached manner of discussing a stranger. At first glance, Detective Luis Ortiz faced what appeared to be a straightforward domestic homicide case. The perpetrator remained at the scene. Multiple witnesses heard the altercation. Physical evidence clearly connected Richard to the crime. "We expected a standard confession, or perhaps a claim of temporary emotional distress," Ortiz recalled. What we found instead was far more disturbing. The first warning came from Richard's pocket contents, latex gloves still in their packaging. His vehicle search revealed cleaning supplies, plastic sheeting, and an overnight bag packed with essentials. Security footage showed him circling the apartment complex twice before parking, systematically checking for witnesses. He brought no phone that day, Ortiz noted. No trackable device whatsoever. That's when we knew to dig deeper. The warrant for Richard's home revealed the case's most chilling element: a password-protected folder on his desktop labeled Contingencies. Inside, investigators discovered detailed schedules tracking Tessa's movements for the previous 3 months. Financial research on whether unmarried fiancés could claim property interests. New Jersey custody law analyses focused on non-biological parental rights. Flight information to non-extradition countries. A methodical pros-cons list titled Resolution Options with Permanent highlighted. Would you know what to look for if someone in your life was planning something harmful against you? The digital footprints people leave often reveal intentions before actions occur. This wasn't a crime of passion, Prosecutor Kimberly Adams stated during the press conference. Our evidence shows Richard Donovan approached murder with the same calculated precision he used for football strategy. This was a controlled, methodical elimination of someone he viewed as an obstacle. The timeline constructed by forensic analysts showed Richard had begun his preparations exactly 2 days after Tessa resumed therapy sessions, suggesting he recognized her growing awareness of his controlling behavior. As Meadowbrook reeled from the murder, Richard Donovan's carefully constructed history collapsed under investigative scrutiny. His impressive resume, the foundation of community trust, revealed alarming gaps when examined closely. His departure from Westlake High in Pennsylvania wasn't the career advancement he'd claimed. Court-sealed documents obtained through judicial order exposed a separation agreement requiring both parties to maintain silence about personal conduct concerns. The school had paid $75,000 to avoid litigation after complaints from female staff members about persistent boundary violations and monitoring behaviors. 2 women from different states contacted authorities after news reports of Tessa's murder. Jennifer Kowalski from Ohio had obtained a restraining order against Richard 5 years earlier, citing escalating control tactics and surveillance. Amanda Delaney from Pennsylvania described a relationship matching Tessa's experience, initial charm followed by intensifying isolation. "He studied me like game footage," Kowalski testified. "My preferences became his playbook. When I tried leaving, he knew exactly which emotional pressure points would cause maximum pain." Most revealing was testimony from Thomas Wright, Richard's former assistant coach in Pennsylvania. "Rich viewed people as chess pieces," Wright explained to prosecutors. "He cataloged weaknesses, exploited insecurities. I once overheard him tell a struggling player that coaching was perfect because teenagers are easily programmed if you know which buttons to push." Wright described witnessing Richard diagram relationship strategies on whiteboards, the same planning method he used for football plays. He approached dating like opponent research. He'd identify a woman's vulnerabilities, create counters for her defenses, and execute his game plan with clinical precision. The pattern proved consistent across 3 states, multiple relationships, and 15 years. Calculated manipulation disguised as attentive care. Richard Donovan's trial lasted 11 days. His defense attorney attempted an emotional distress strategy, claiming temporary loss of control due to wedding stress. The prosecution methodically dismantled this narrative with the contingencies folder contents, security footage showing his calculated approach, and testimony from previous victims. The jury deliberated just 4 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Most jurors later described the evidence as overwhelming and chilling. Judge Eleanor Williams delivered a scathing assessment at sentencing. "Mr. Donovan, you weaponized trust and affection. You studied vulnerability for exploitation rather than protection. You embody the most dangerous type of predator, one who wears the mask of mentor, partner, and protector." She sentenced him to life imprisonment without possibility of parole, adding additional years for domestic violence aggravating factors. Tessa's daughters, now living with their maternal grandparents, continue receiving specialized trauma therapy. Their recovery progresses slowly through art therapy and group sessions with other children who've experienced family violence. Meadowbrook community members, initially divided between disbelief and horror, united to establish the Tessa Myers Nursing Scholarship, specifically funding education for single parents pursuing medical careers. The hospital where she worked created a pediatric safety program in her name. The school district implemented comprehensive new hiring protocols requiring expanded background investigations, social media reviews, and off-record conversations with previous employers. All staff now undergo mandatory boundary training focusing on recognizing controlling behaviors in colleagues. Detective Luis Ortiz now leads nationwide training programs for law enforcement and community organizations, focusing on identifying high-functioning abusers before violence escalates. These manipulators maintain separate personas, Ortiz explains in his presentations. Public excellence masks private control. Their compartmentalization allows them to abuse partners while maintaining spotless community reputations. Key warning signs include excessive information gathering about your schedule and contacts, relationship milestones that feel strategically timed rather than natural, gradually increasing isolation from support networks, perfect public behavior contrasting with private criticism, documentation of perceived slights or disobedience, using professional skills like coaching, management, to control personal relationships. Early indicators often appear as attentiveness before evolving into surveillance. Caring questions become accountability demands, Ortiz notes. Gift-giving transforms into leverage for compliance. Most crucial, trust instinctive discomfort even when you can't articulate specific concerns. Share this video with someone who needs to understand these hidden dangers. Recognition saves lives. Richard Donovan maintained his perfect facade through calculated compartmentalization, a skill he honed on football fields and perfected in relationships. His public achievements created a protective shield that made accusations seem implausible. Community admiration became his most effective weapon against suspicion. Tessa's final week reveals the critical importance of trusting instinctive discomfort. Her growing unease prompted action, but societal pressure to maintain appearances delayed her departure until it was too late. That hesitation, the gap between recognition and response, became the window for violence. If you recognize controlling patterns in your relationship or someone you care about, resources exist. National Domestic Violence Hotline. 1-800-799-7233. Crisis Text Line. Text HOME to 741741. Local women's shelters offering confidential consultation. Family court advocates providing exit strategy planning. Most dangerous predators don't hide in shadows. They stand in spotlight's glare, collecting accolades and building trust while methodically isolating their targets. Their respected community positions don't disprove concerns. They enable abuse through perceived credibility. The most vital lesson from Tessa Myers' story. External success never justifies dismissing internal warning signals. For more true crime stories with crucial life lessons, subscribe to True Crime Hunter and hit the notification bell. Your vigilance today could protect someone tomorrow.